Welcome in or welcome back. My name is Deb from DT Reads, and I'm here today for another weekend reading challenge. As I'm filming this, it is Christmas morning. I have COVID. I can't actually go anywhere. I'm pretty much housebound for a little bit because I cannot be exposing anyone in my family to any more illness. We've had a rough month. The upside to that is I am going to be working from home the next 2 days. I have today all to myself and Kylie, and we have no plans. So I figured, why not give myself something fun, something entertaining that I can do over the next couple of days and call it a weekend, even though it Wednesday today. But, you know, whatever. I also don't know when this is going to go up. You're probably going to be seeing this well after Christmas just because my content is planned out. This was impromptu and I'm not sure where I'm going to squeeze it in. So hello from the past. I hope 2025 is going much better. So full transparency, my last challenge was a book box challenge, and if I get one of those types of prompts again, I'm going to put it back because I want to give myself something a little more interesting, a little more directed reading. So let's see. The other one I think I would struggle with, but I would figure out, is eyeball only reading because I am working the next 2 days, even if it is from home. So audiobooks would be more ideal, but we'll see what we can do. So with that, we will find out what this weekend's challenge is. And so it is. Smaller books. So, okay. The idea with this one is I can read whatever I want for the first book, and then each book afterwards, I have to find a lower page count. So depending on how far I get into the challenge, I have to be a little strategic to leave myself room so I don't get to a point where I don't have any smaller books. That was the idea with this one. Doesn't have a lot of limitations on what I read, but that's okay. It will allow me audiobooks, which is good. I can either go with, I guess, less hours in an audiobook or less page count, depending on if I have the physical book in front of me or not. Okay, I've considered my options and I decided to go a little bit on the big side. I do have a lot of time today without much to do. I've decided to start with Kagan the Damned by Jonathan Maberry. This one I actually received as a birthday gift from Claire at Claire's Neverland of Books. It's from last year I think, so it's one I've been needing to get to, and it is 549 pages. I have no idea if that's focusing, but it gives me lots of options for my next book. It is a 21-hour audiobook, which seems long since the print is not small in here, so I think I'll get through it faster than I expect to. And it's one that obviously was on my wish list. It's one I've been wanting to get to. It's one that's been on my shelf for over a year now, and I think I need to get to it. We've got Kagan, who was the captain of the palace guard until he was drugged, and the entire imperial family was killed. He was therefore abandoned by his gods, damned forever, becomes a wanderer. He's vowed to take down his enemies, including the usurper witch. Magic's coming back into the land. It sounds like something that I really enjoy. I'm highly hopeful, and we will see. I'll be back once I have some thoughts for you. I am now not quite half, but I'm over 200 pages into Kagan the Damned, and I'm actually having a fantastic time with this. I'm really glad that I picked it up. It's nearly 5 o'clock. I'm about to put my eggplant in the oven, so I'm not making as good of a progress on this as I had originally thought. I've been distracted by chatty people on Discord servers and just a little bit of general life distractions, but I'm really loving this. I love the writing. It gets into moments where it's kind of very almost lyrical and descriptive, and I like that, but it doesn't go on for pages and pages of that. You get glimpses of it, and then it gets right into the action and right into the characters and everything else, so you get kind of a mix of things going on in here. It starts off with just a one-sentence chapter, and the chapters just kind of run together on the same page, but the first chapter is Kagan Vale woke to the sound of his own damnation. And I thought that was such a strong opening, and it definitely hooked me, definitely had me intrigued right off the bat. We jump pretty quickly into the action. We start with Kagan. He's woken up thinking he's really hungover, that there's drums going off in his head or cymbals crashing in his head, and he thinks that he just had a wild night on the town and is paying the price now. He thinks he can get ahead hangover cure and move on with his life until he realizes it's not all in his head. What he's hearing is a battle going on outside in the streets, and it's a big one. And from there, he goes out, he finds bodies, he finds destruction, he finds things that don't really make sense within the bounds of his understanding of what's real, and he goes racing off to the palace. He's in charge of seeing to the protection of the children of the Empress, and they have all now been killed. The entire imperial family is dead, his own family is dead, and he just is heartbroken. He's guilt-ridden, he's all these things, and he pretty much pours himself into a bottle, and we see him literally being turned on by the gods of this world and going off and wandering, and I'm assuming eventually going to get his act together again and start to kind of fight back. We get his POV, I would say, is the main one, but we're getting multiple POV. We're seeing the new Witch King, who was the one who came in and usurped and took over the empire. We're seeing a young girl with a nun who is an orphan who was about to be kind of brought in as a nun herself, I believe. And there's just a lot of different people. This is a world where magic was outlawed, and obviously with a Witch King, you have him using magic and bringing magic back in. The whole magic world is starting to awaken. I really find it interesting. The religion of Kagan's people is based on gardening. You had the gardeners, you had the seedlings as the children who would be raised in this, and I find that really interesting kind of as a concept against the darkness of this world. There are a lot of trigger warnings in here. There's a lot of discussion and after effects and depictions even of sexual assault and rape, and the way that the men coming in to conquer are using women's bodies as part of the plundering. And there is a lot of darkness in here, but there's also some good, really subtle, dry humor that I appreciate as well. So I'm having a fantastic time with this. I'm really glad that I picked it up. Hopefully I'll make still a pretty good dent in this tonight before I have to go to bed. I do have the audiobook also, so I will be able to listen as I'm getting some stuff done as well. Since I do have to work from the couch tomorrow, I should be able to definitely finish this up, hopefully by early tomorrow, and pick my next book. Okay, I don't usually do another update midway, but this is such a big one, and this is taking me much longer to read than I expected. I figured I would give an update anyway. And I'm about to take the camera downstairs with me because I need to log into work soon and definitely need to get some coffee and settle in for a work day on the couch. But this is going really well. I made it just to the 400-page mark last night before I got to the point where I just needed to lay down, watch some TV, and pass out early. And I am really enjoying this. I took longer to get through it just because I was hanging out with some friends, doing some reading sprints. Some of them got more chatty than sprinty, and it took me a little bit of time, but when I'm sunk into this, I am really enjoying it. I'm flying through it. It's one that the audiobook has been good too. I did a little bit of that in bed this morning before getting up, and I am having a fantastic time. There's one relationship that I'm questioning. There's a pairing between a 15-year-old kind of novice and a nun, and situations have changed. I'm not going to say how because that would get into spoilers, but there is a relationship there, and I don't entirely trust it. The balance of power between the two and all of that. So I'm questioning that, and it's bothering me a little bit, but not enough to diminish my enjoyment. I am definitely intrigued as to what's going on there because I feel like there's a couple layers of things afoot that the reader's not entirely in the know on yet. And the power, the politics of the Witch King, I'm still finding really interesting. I really like Kagan's character. I really like the humor he brings in and his determination, and I'm having a fantastic time. So my hope is that it'll be a slow work morning and I can finish this one off pretty quickly this morning with my coffee before I actually start, and in a break or two as I'm going through the day. So I should be back hopefully pretty soon with a finish for this and my next book pick, which really can be anything that's less than 550 pages. So I have lots of options. I'm not quite sure what they're going to be yet, but we'll see. I'm back because I have finished Kagan the Damned, and this had a fantastic finish to the book. It definitely hooked me in at the very end, and I couldn't stop flipping pages. There was big action toward the end, and it really left me wanting to pick up book 2 almost immediately, which I don't own, so I will get on that. But I think this did a really good job of feeling like a finished book. It brought things to a conclusion, it brought things to a climax and a resolution, but we have a lot of questions going on in here, a lot of areas that need to be explored further. There was a big reveal right at the end, and that one I should have maybe considered seeing coming, but definitely did not. And some of the things that I was suspicious about earlier in the book, I feel justified in having been suspicious, but they went different ways than I necessarily expected. So I really liked that some of these twists and turns took me by surprise. The character development was good. I really enjoyed the characters that we're following in here and the different POVs and how they all come together. The pacing was really well done. It built quite steadily, I would say, and it had some quiet moments here and there, but intentionally so. And I didn't ever feel like it got too bogged down in being slow, in the kind of traveling, taking too long, or anything along those lines that sometimes fantasies can do. And like I said, I think earlier, I think it did a really good job of balancing the darkness with the lighter moments so that it kept things moving ahead in a good direction, keeping my interest, never making me feel too sad or too much humor going on. But overall, this was a 5-star read for me, and definitely one I am looking to continue sooner rather than later. So this was 550 pages, $4.49 if you want to get technical. So I have picked out my next book, and Bonesmith by Nikki Pau Preto, and this is one that is a fairy loot book, and one that a couple of times during 2024 I wanted to put it onto a TBR, and I just didn't quite get to it. So I'm happy to now have the opportunity. This one is 447 pages. So basically we're taking 100 pages off the page count from the previous one. This one is available as an audiobook for my library if I need an audio. And I am about to go probably throw some chicken wings into the air fryer for lunch and give myself a little bit of a break from sitting right by my work computer and do a little bit of reading before I get back to doing some work tests this afternoon. And I will let you know once I get started on this one how it's going. I honestly don't know off the top of my head what even the plot of this is. It's just one that I saw some people enjoying last year, and therefore it's one that's been on my list to get to. Plus, again, it's just pretty and it's fairy loot, so I do want to be reading my subscription box books. Alright, that's it. I'll stop rambling and be back once I have thoughts. Okay, I am now exactly halfway into Bonesmith, and overall, so far, I'm liking it. I wouldn't say I'm loving it. We're following Wren, who is a young woman who has a deep desire to be a Valkyr, and this is part of being a bonesmith, being able to communicate with bones, to be able to reap these bones. And she is in the very beginning of the book going into trials, and she's up against her cousin who's a bit of an enemy, and she's determined. She's a little bit headstrong, I would say. She's a little bit overconfident, possibly. She has a father who is telling her she needs to do well because her grandmother is someone who would happily kick her out. And she takes this to mean she needs to go big or go home, and things don't go smoothly. She winds up getting sent essentially into exile and doing a job that's known to be kind of a punishment job, sent away from the House of Bone where her family is, and she's very upset by this, understandably. When she gets there, she learns that her father has kind of sent word ahead and set things up for her to be there to have someone kind of looking out for her, and she learns that her father has been through some trials of his own. As she's trying to figure out a way to get back into the family good graces, to be able to prove her worth, to be able to do this job that she so wants to do, the prince is kidnapped. And this is done by some kidnappers coming in, breaching the walls, and she's decided that she can prove her worth by going and rescuing the prince. And in order to do this, she winds up making kind of an alliance with one of the kidnappers and going out into the beyond after the prince with this man. And of course, this being young adult fantasy romance, we're going to have some enemies to lovers, I'm assuming, going on here between these two, Ren and Julian. And so far, I'm having a good time with it. It's a really easy book. I've mostly been listening to the audiobook for it and enjoying my time with it. I did pick it up on Kindle as well, so I don't have to use the pretty copy and potentially destroy some edges on it. But I'm finding it good. I don't think this is going to be a 5-star read by any means, but I'm having fun. So I will keep going. I think tonight I'm kind of going to go to bed early. I just had dinner and I'm just not in the reading mode right now. So I think I'm going to take an easy night, early night, just go watch some TV, and we will pick this whole challenge back up tomorrow. And I think I can very quickly get through the second half of this one. I got through the first half very fast, so I think we will use that as the current plan of attack. I'm back with you, and to start with, I do have some final thoughts with Bonesmith, and overall, I had a good time with this. It wasn't anything that kind of blew me away. It wasn't a book that I'm going to remember all that well, I don't think, in the long term. I did like the darker elements, the whole bonesmithing idea, the idea of controlling bones and having kind of a element of competition at the very beginning. I liked the fact that we had this rescue mission that was going on. We had some decent banter between our two kind of main leads who are off to save this prince and in competition with each other, a few twists and turns, not all of which I necessarily saw coming, but in all reality, I've been very distracted while reading this, and that's probably part of why I didn't pick up on some things that maybe I should have. It's the type of book where I kind of have to think about whether it's a series I really am going to remember well enough to continue. The reality of this is, I think if I had read this when this first came out, I don't know that I would have remembered it well enough to continue. But the sequel comes out in just, I think, early 2025, if I'm remembering correctly. So I do think it's one that I'll probably pick up on audio from the library. I had a good time reading this. I would be interested to see where it goes, since it is a duology that would finish off a series for me. And this one got a solid 3-star. It was an entertaining read. Nothing that I would say is a must read in my opinion. But again, I haven't had the best reading week, so it could partially definitely be me as well. With that, I am going to just wrap this up here. I had anticipated reading a few more things, but it's been a rough time. The COVID I've had is still lingering. It's been over a week now, and it hasn't completely gone away from me. My mother's also been in the hospital, and she's in her last days. So that's not been helping. So with all of that, I've appreciated having some distractions. I didn't get as much reading in as I otherwise would have, and obviously that's understandable. I thought about scrapping this whole challenge idea. It wasn't a weekend. It wasn't so much a challenge because it was only 2 books with very little guidelines as to what I read, but I did the reading. I had one book that wound up being one of my favorites of the year even, so I did want to go ahead and get that review out there. And since I filmed up till this point and I'm still using books as a good distraction at the moment, I would go ahead and get this finished up. With that, let me know down below, have you read either of these books? Do you like big books? Do you prefer reading smaller books? Let me know all your thoughts down below. And if you made it this far and you don't have anything to comment, leave me some sort of a weapon emoji, because it turns out both of these books do have weapons on the cover. So if you're looking for a good weapon on the cover book, here you go. And with that, I will go ahead and leave you here. I will be back hopefully soon with a new weekend challenge that's truly a weekend challenge when life calms down a little bit and I have a weekend where I can just kind of sit and read and put my thoughts into books. If you could hit that like button down below, I would surely appreciate it, and subscribe if you're interested in hearing more of my book thoughts, seeing one of my weekend challenges, and my bookish content in general. But for now, I will leave you here and see you real soon in a new video.